The purplish golden giant's entire body was riddled with countless golden and silver spirit patterns, and 36 specks of starlight had appeared on its lower abdomen. The combination of the radiant starlight and the dazzling purplish golden light emanating from the giant's body made this form appear far more formidable than in the past. Blue light flashed within Han Li's eyes as he let loose a low roar, and an incredibly formidable aura erupted out of his body, causing the surrounding space to tremble violently and sending rings of visible ripples surging outward in all directions. A peculiar look flashed through Worm Three's eyes at the sight of Han Li's holy nirvana physique, and Mo Yu was also quite taken aback by the sight of this transformation. Han Li made a grabbing motion with all six of his hands, and the three azure bamboo cloud swarm swords flew into his grasp. He then opened his mouth to release three translucent golden threads, which vanished into the three giant swords in a flash. The azure light radiating from the three swords instantly brightened by several fold, as did the arcs of golden lightning flashing over them, and they transformed into countless golden lightning runes that swirled around the three swords. The surrounding space shuddered once again in the face of the three swords' collective aura, while Han Li's heavy water true axis appeared in one of three vacant hands. As for the final two hands, a pair of purplish golden weapons, namely a giant axe and a massive hammer, had taken shape within them. These two weapons had been formed purely by spiritual power, but they were also giving off incredibly formidable auras. Han Li took a step forward, and he abruptly vanished from the spot, then reappeared in front of the ball of white light an instant later, before swinging all six of his weapons down upon it. The three azure bamboo cloud swarm swords, the heavy water true axis, and the two purplish golden weapons struck the ball of white light with an earth-shattering boom, causing it to tremble violently, while the part that had been struck caved in significantly. However, the ball of light was incredibly resilient, and not only was it able to hold itself intact, it was able to repel all of Han Li's weapons. However, after withstanding those attacks, the ball of white light had dimmed slightly. A hint of elation flashed through Han Li's eyes upon seeing this, and he immediately continued his assault, swinging his weapons down in a relentless barrage. The sound of Han Li's weapons pounding down onto the ball of white light resembled that of countless thunderclaps ringing out at once, releasing a burst of terrifying power that caused the nearby space to warp violently. Mo Yu and Worm 3 were both astonished to see this. Before long, the ball of white light was completely inundated by the barrage of furious attacks, and it resembled a tiny raft that was swaying unsteadily on a turbulent sea. The light that was emanating from it was becoming dimmer and dimmer, and before long, only a thin layer of it remained. Right at this moment, Han Li let loose a thunderous roar as blinding purplish golden light erupted out of his body. His 6 arms became significantly thicker and stronger, while the 6 weapons in his hands also lit up significantly as they crashed down upon the ball of white light. One final time, a loud crack rang out as the ball of light was finally shattered into countless specks of white light, and Gong Shu Ju was revealed underneath with his hair completely disheveled. Blood was also pouring out of all of his orifices, seemingly from the impact of all of Han Li's prior attacks, and there was an astonished look on his face. A white bead was hanging in front of his chest, and it quickly shattered, just like the ball of white light. Han Li's 6 weapons were stopped in their tracks for a brief moment before continuing to crash down upon Gong Shu Ju, and a dull thump rang out as he was smashed into a pile of mincemeat. A relieved look flashed through Han Li's eyes upon seeing this, but right at this moment, a nascent soul that was as fair and translucent as jade flew out Gong Shu Ju's remains. Around the nascent soul were several dozen wisps of white flames, which formed the shape of a lotus flower that encompassed the nascent soul within it. Each wisp of these white flames had a translucent law thread within it, but these law threads were slowly shrinking, as if they were burning away. A burst of incredibly formidable law powers erupted out of the white flames to force the golden ripples away, following which the white nascent soul vanished into thin air. An alarmed look appeared in Han Li's eyes upon seeing this, but he didn't panic, and his law destruction eye instantly appeared on his glabella. The eye was flashing with a cold black gleam as it scoured the surrounding area. At the same time, a translucent spiritual sense chain shot out of his glabella as well, then also vanished into thin air in a flash. This spiritual sense chain was completely different from before. Not only had it become over 2 times thicker than in the past, a series of silver runes were also swirling around it, giving off a burst of law power fluctuations. Immediately thereafter, a dull thump rang out, and the translucent chain emerged at over 10,000 feet away. With the white nascent soul ensnared within it, the nascent soul was flailing its little arms with all its might, fanning the white flames around it to incinerate the translucent chain, but the latter remained as resilient as an immovable mountain. "You're not getting away," Hanli declared with a cold sneer on his face as he swept a sleeve through the air, releasing an azure bamboo cloud swarm sword that instantly transformed into a thin azure and golden thread. A peerlessly sharp aura was surging out of the thin thread, causing the nearby space to tremble and sway. The thin thread appeared in front of the white nascent soul in the blink of an eye, then pierced straight into its glabella, passing through with some difficulty. With a hole punched into the nascent soul's glabella, the white flames around it instantly subsided, and Gong Shuju's consciousness completely faded, leaving only a pure nascent soul crystal behind. Only then did Hanli heave a sigh of relief as he quickly reverted back to his human form. His complexion had paled significantly, and he quickly withdrew his time spirit domain and his mantra treasured axis as well. The combination of his spirit domain, mantra treasured axis, and holy nirvana physique had been extremely taxing to unleash all at once. And at this point, his immortal spiritual power had already been completely exhausted. He raised a hand to make a beckoning motion, and the golden and azure sword thread flew back into his body with something wrapped within it, while the other 2 azure bamboo cloud swarm swords and the heavy water true axis were also stowed away. He then flipped a hand over to produce a pair of pills that he promptly devoured, and only then did his complexion improve slightly. With Hanli's time spirit domain withdrawn, Worm 3's dark red spirit domain instantly returned to normal, and she took a long glance at Hanli before withdrawing her spirit domain as well. After taking a moment to recover, Hanli swept a sleeve through the air, releasing a burst of azure that swept up Gong Shuju's storage bracelet, a pair of immortal treasures, and that white nascent soul. "Well done, kid. To think that a mere golden immortal like yourself was able to slay a high zenith cultivator. If word of this were to escape, then the entire immortal realm would be in awe. The paramount laws are truly not to be underestimated," Mo Yu praised with a smile as he flew over to Hanli's side. However, Hanli knew that he couldn't take full credit for killing Gong Shuju. If it weren't for the fact that his spirit domain had resonated with Worm 3's, thereby significantly enhancing its power, there was no way it would have been able to contain Gong Shuju. With that in mind, the thought of the 2 Dawnfall sect Golden Immortals sprang into his mind. Their yin and yang law powers had enhanced one another in much the same way as the spirit domain resonance that had just taken place. Hanli cast his gaze toward Mo Yu as he asked, "Who exactly are you? Should I be calling you the Boundless Taoist right now, or Gray Immortal Mo Yu?" "I am Gray Immortal Mo Yu, not the Boundless Taoist," Mo Yu replied with a smile. Hanli didn't seem all that surprised to hear this, and he asked, "In that case, how much of what you told me about the Boundless Taoist and the Infernal Frost Immortal Lord is actually true?" "I concealed my identity so that you would be willing to take me with you out of the Moonlight Palace, but everything else I told you is all true. The Boundless Taoist and the Infernal Frost Immortal Lord are one and the same. In fact, she's here right now," Mo Yu said as he cast his gaze toward a certain direction. Hanli and Worm 3 were both rather taken aback to hear this, and they turned to the same direction. "Why are you not showing yourself?" Mo Yu asked in a gentle voice. A burst of spatial fluctuations emerged in that direction, and to Hanli's surprise, Lu Yuqing appeared before his eyes. However, her disposition had undergone a complete change, and she was giving a peerlessly cold and sharp aura, as if she were the personification of a mighty sword. "We finally meet again after so many years apart," Mo Yu said as he looked deep into Lu Yuqing's eyes. then approached her before grabbing onto her hands. Lu Yuqing's cold facade instantly crumbled, and a faint blush appeared on her face as she complained, "What are you doing? There are people watching." That decision of mine kept us apart for so many years, and it almost permanently separated us. Now that we've been reunited, I'm never going to let go of you again, Mo Yu said in a firm voice. Lu Yuqing briefly put up a half-hearted struggle, then gave up and allowed Mo Yu to do as he pleased. Hanli and Worm 3 were feeling a little awkward, and both of them looked away. At the same time, the image of Nangongwan sprang into Hanli's mind, and he couldn't help but heave a forlorn internal sigh.